Welcome to the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video, where better sleep starts with better understanding. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest mysteries in all of biology. And we're going to do it by looking at something really, really small. So, why do we sleep? I mean, it sounds like a simple question, right? But believe it or not, it is one of the single biggest unsolved puzzles in biology. Think about it. We spend about a third of our entire lives completely out of it, and scientists are still trying to figure out the most basic reason why. And a huge part of the problem is us. I mean, our brains are just insanely complicated. We're talking about 100 billion neurons, all firing away. Trying to pinpoint the exact circuits that just handle sleep, well, that's like trying to find one faulty wire in a supercomputer the size of a city. It's just mind-bogglingly difficult. So what do you do when the problem is too complex? You simplify. And to find the answers to this huge question, scientists turned to a pretty unlikely hero. You know that tiny insect that buzzes around your fruit bowl? Yep, the humble fruit fly, Drosophila melanogaster. Now you might be thinking, a fruit fly? Seriously? But here's the thing, they are the perfect genetic powerhouse for this kind of research. For starters, a new generation pops up every 10 to 12 days. A single female can have hundreds of babies. So you can run these massive genetic experiments on a scale that would be completely impossible with, say, mice. But here's the real kicker. A surprising number of our human disease genes have a counterpart in the fly. And on a basic level, their little brains use a lot of the same machinery ours do. The same neurotransmitters, the same ion channels. They're like a simplified blueprint of us. Okay, so before you can study sleep in a fly, you have to be sure they actually sleep, right? I mean, are they just taking a break, or is it the real deal? To figure that out, scientists had to get really specific and set up a checklist. 3 key things a fly has to do to have its behavior officially count as sleep. And what do you know? The fruit fly nails all 3. First, they stop moving for long periods of time, sometimes for hours. Second, they have a higher arousal threshold, so a sleeping fly is harder to startle. You need a brighter light or a stronger vibration to get them going. And third, and this one's really important, is homeostatic regulation. Basically, if you pull an all-nighter with a fruit fly, it'll sleep in the next day to make up for it. That's called sleep rebound, and it's exactly what we do. So we've established that flies sleep. Great. Now, how in the world do you measure it? You can't exactly ask thousands of tiny flies to wear a Fitbit. You need a system that can track them all, automatically, 24/7. And the solution they came up with is actually pretty ingenious. It's called the Drosophila Activity Monitor. Here's how it works. Each fly lives in its own tiny glass tube. An invisible infrared beam cuts right across the middle. Every time the fly moves, it breaks that beam, and a computer logs it as activity. After watching them for a while, researchers came up with a rule. If a fly stays still for 5 whole minutes, no beam breaks, they count that as sleep. And all this tracking led to a really profound discovery. For a fly, sleep isn't just a nice to have. It is absolutely essential for life. If you keep a fly awake for too long, it will die, just like us. This was huge because it proved that whatever sleep is doing, it's a fundamental biological process that's critical for survival. Okay, so now that they could measure sleep in thousands of flies at once, the real hunt could begin. The hunt for the genes that actually control this whole process. And what they found? Well, it was kind of mind-blowing. The core genetic machinery, the genes that run the internal 24-hour clock in a fruit fly, are practically identical to ours. I mean, look at this. Genes called period, timeless, clock, they have direct human equivalents. It's like finding out your watch and a clock from ancient Rome run on the exact same gears. We are literally running on the same ancient timekeeping software. And this isn't just some cool bit of trivia. It creates a direct line from the fly lab to the doctor's office. Take this, for example. There's a fly gene called double time that helps regulate their clock. Well, it turns out that the human version of that gene, CK1 delta, when mutated, causes something called familial advanced sleep phase syndrome. It's a real condition where people are extreme morning larks. Their clocks run way too fast. So a discovery in a tiny fly directly explains a human sleep disorder. It's just incredible. And the tools scientists have now are straight out of science fiction. They have this system that's basically a genetic remote control for the fly's brain. They can target super specific neurons, say just the ones they think promote sleep, and turn them on or off with a flip of a switch, and then just watch what happens to the fly's behavior. It's unbelievably precise. And the results you get from this can be just staggering. Using these tools, researchers found one gene they perfectly named sleepless. If you mess up this one single gene, the fly loses up to 80% of its sleep. 80%! Can you even imagine trying to function on just a fifth of the sleep you need? So again, why should we care about a sleepy fly? Well, it turns out the sleepless gene controls a very specific kind of gate on brain cells, a potassium channel. And guess what? There's a rare but severe autoimmune disorder in humans, where the body's own immune system attacks these exact same channels. And one of the most prominent awful symptoms for those people is severe, intractable insomnia. The fly is showing us the exact biological parts that are breaking. The success with the fruit fly was so huge that it opened the door for a whole new team of tiny researchers. Scientists started looking at other simple animals to see what else they could learn. And two of the new all-stars are the zebrafish and the nematode worm. Each one brings something unique to the table. The zebrafish is a vertebrate, so its nervous system is a bit more like ours. And the coolest part? Its babies are transparent. You can literally put them under a microscope and watch their brain cells light up in real time as they fall asleep. Then you've got the worm, C. elegans. This is simplicity at its finest. Its entire brain is just 302 neurons, and scientists have a complete wiring diagram. They know how every single neuron is connected to every other one. So what's the big picture here? Why does all this work on flies and worms and fish matter for us? It all comes down to one thing: taking these fundamental discoveries from the lab bench and bringing them to the bedside to understand and treat human disease. And here is a perfect example: restless leg syndrome. A while back, scientists found a human gene that was strongly linked to it, but they didn't know what it did. So they looked for its counterpart in fruit flies. And when they knocked out that gene in the flies got fragmented sleep and kept moving around. It looked a whole lot like RLS in humans. And by studying it in the fly, they figured out that the gene works in dopamine neurons, which reinforced a major theory about human RLS. What this all shows us is that by boiling sleep down to its simplest form, we get to see the fundamental rules of the game. These aren't new inventions. These are ancient biological mechanisms that have been passed down for hundreds of millions of years of evolution, from a simple worm to a buzzing fly, all the way up to us. And that brings us right back to where we started, to that big central mystery. If sleep is so important, so absolutely vital, that evolution has carefully preserved it in almost every animal on the planet, then what is the essential, life-giving job that it's doing for all of us? That's the billion-dollar question. And thanks to our unlikely heroes, the fly, the fish, and the worm, we're getting closer to the answer, one nap at a time. Thank you for watching the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video. We hope you sleep well and dream easy.